Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video today, we're going to be looking at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers keys to victory in Week 2 versus the Carolina Panthers. These are some of the things that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could do to give them a better chance of winning Week 2 versus the Panthers. And let's get started right away. Number 1. Communication and chemistry. That needs to improve starting versus the Carolina Panthers. We saw loads of problems both on the offensive side of the football and especially on special teams, and these problems were because of a lack of chemistry and communication. Now, I want to say on the offensive side of the football, it wasn't too terrible. It was one mistake by Mike Evans not running a route that led to an interception by Tom Brady, and then also just some other small things, some lack of chemistry between Tom Brady and his wide receivers, among other factors playing a role into it, and also probably a very strong lack of communication along the offensive line led to some problems as well. I want to more focus on special teams communication and chemistry. I'm looking at you, Mike Edwards. You really ruined that play for Jadon Mickens. Now, I don't hold many grudges. I'm over it after this video, but just one more time, that was one of the dumbest plays I've ever seen in NFL history by Mike Edwards. That was middle school level stuff. Okay, we're over it. We're moving on. But yeah, chemistry and communication needs to be a point of emphasis for this upcoming game versus the Panthers for both the offense and especially on special teams, because we saw in that game versus the Saints how crucial special teams can be when there is a lack of chemistry and communication there. It can ruin an entire game. So yeah, let's improve on chemistry and communication starting with the Carolina Panthers. But now let's get into the rest of the keys of victory for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, starting off with Angry Brady plus Evans and Godwin. Now, Tom Brady probably isn't too happy that he lost his first ever game with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, especially in the fashion that he lost it in. So I figure that Tom Brady's probably going to be a little upset, which means we get angry Tom Brady. And angry Tom Brady is a very scary thing. Tom Brady knows he messed up on a couple of plays versus the Saints. He knows the chemistry was a little bit out of whack. He knows the communication was a little bit out of whack. And he's going to be taking all of that anger and all of that frustration out on the Carolina Panthers, hopefully. Also factoring in Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, a lot of people have been saying that the clamps were put down on Mike Evans. Simply not true. He drew 2 penalties for pass interference that were about 40 yards each. In both Bruce Arians and Tom Brady's words, he pretty much had a 100-yard game, so I really don't want to hear anything about that. But also looking at Chris Godwin, he was the leading receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Week 1. He's going to look to continue that progress into Week 2. And I do want to see Mike Evans figure a little bit more into the passing game. Bruce Arians said earlier this week that he's pretty much disappointed whenever Mike Evans doesn't get at least 10 targets. So yeah, let's see Mike Evans get targeted more, and let's see Chris Godwin continue his consistency from Week 1. The next point I want to make is get the running backs going. I will be talking about this a little bit later on in the week, but the the Carolina Panthers front seven is a little bit on the weaker side now that they have lost Luke Kuechly, who is, a Hall of Fame caliber-esque player. Now that he is retired, now that he is gone, they definitely have some interesting guys back there. They have Shaq Thompson, who they signed to a big extension. They signed Tahir Whitehead, who could potentially be something, although I'm not too particularly impressed by Tahir Whitehead. They have K'Wan Short. They have Derek Brown down there on the defensive line. Overall, this unit is all right, but considering, the comparison to the New Orleans Saints in Week 1, I expect a bigger game from Ronald Jones and from Leonard Fournette, who we didn't get to see a lot of in Week 1, that being Leonard Fournette. So I want to see him get a little bit more work in Week 2. Not to say that Ronald Jones did bad. I think Ronald Jones had a pretty good game, but I want to see a little bit more of that power from Leonard Fournette, see how he factors into a power run type of plays that would be happening in this game. So overall, yeah, let's get the running backs going. It's a little bit of a weaker front seven, and I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers running backs can take advantage. The next point I want to make is, please, for the love of God, stop Christian McCaffrey. That is exactly what I wrote down in my notes. Christian McCaffrey is the entire Carolina Panthers offense, hands down. Yes, they did add some weapons. They have Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback. They have some really speedy guys like Curtis Samuel, like Robbie Anderson, like DJ Moore. But at the end of the day, it's still Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey, for my money, is the best running back in the entire NFL, and he is still an absolute weapon. He is the entire Carolina Panthers offense, and I don't blame them for that, okay? The guy is a phenomenal running back and a phenomenal receiver, so you have to stop this guy. Last year, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did a very good job of stopping Christian McCaffrey in the 2 games they played against him, so we're looking for that consistency in the overall run defense and in the overall containment of Christian McCaffrey as well. I know it sounded weird. It's fine. We're moving past it, but I'm specifically looking at Levante David and I'm looking at Devin White as well to contain Christian McCaffrey. They are going to be very busy, and I think if week 1 has anything to say about anything, they're going to be pretty good at their job because they both finished with 11 tackles each in week 1. They're going to be all over the field in week 2, in my opinion. But moving on to the next point, this point actually follows up the point from the previous point, which is match the wide receiver's speed on defense. Now, like I said, Robbie Anderson, Curtis Samuel, and DJ Moore, they are all insanely fast. Carlton Davis does have some speed to him, but I'm looking more specifically at Sean Murphy-Bunting and especially Jamel Dean. Now, on the note of week 1, whenever Jamel Dean supposedly gave up that very long pass to Jared Cook, he had been beat by a tight end. Bruce Arians has now gone on record saying that that was not Jamel Dean's fault. That was not his assignment. So I'm definitely looking for Jamel Dean to still rebound in week 2. He's still one of the fastest players on our entire roster. That, I guess blown coverage was not his fault, so overall he had an alright game. Still could have done way better on special teams in my opinion, but in terms of his overall coverage in week 1, he wasn't that bad, minus that one play that wasn't even his fault. So in week 2, I'm looking for him, especially Jamel Dean, to match the speed of Robbie Anderson and Curtis Samuel, because that's going to be a big factor. I also look for Antoine Winfield Jr. and Jordan Whitehead to be very, very busy as well. This should be an interesting matchup because the Carolina Panthers have a ton of speed at that wide receiver core. The next point I want to talk about, the second to last point, is going to be attacking Teddy Bridgewater a lot. You, again, want to make the Carolina Panthers one-dimensional, and I know they kind of already are, but I just said they have a lot of speed at the wide receiver position, and you still need to throw off the balance of quarterback Teddy Bridgewater. I'm looking at Shaq Barrett, I'm looking at Jason Pierre-Paul. They're going to be going up against Russell Okung and Taylor Morton. Not bad starting tackles in the NFL at all, but compared to both, Teron Armstead and Ryan Ramczyk of the Saints, pretty decent downgrade in terms of overall talent and whatnot. Both very capable starters, but I expect Jason Pierre-Paul and Shaq Barrett to get a lot more work in terms of overall pass rush productivity. So I expect Teddy Bridgewater to be thrown off balance a little bit. You need to go ahead and just have them try and focus on getting Christian McCaffrey going, and if you can stop that as well, you're pretty much shutting down the entire Carolina Panthers offense. So let's see what they can do in terms of getting pressure on the new Carolina Panthers quarterback. And finally, guys, the last point I want to make here, pretty crucial point, pretty easy point to make: protect Tom Brady at all costs. I am looking at you, Donovan Smith. Please protect Tom Brady. Donovan Smith especially. Okay, listen. I watched every single offensive snap of week 1. You guys saw that in the community tab when I talked about all the times Donovan Smith had been beat, okay? Ali Marpet did not have a bad game. Ryan Jensen, in my opinion, did not have a very bad game. Tristan Wirfs held up pretty okay versus Cameron Jordan, all-pro defensive lineman, 15.5 sacks. Tristan Wirfs did okay. The one time I saw Cameron Jordan go up against Donovan Smith, Cameron Jordan just planted him into the ground on a run play, and it resulted in a tackle for loss on Ronald Jones. Yeah. Donovan Smith was getting beat by second and third string defensive ends. We can't have that happen again. Bruce Arians even said that it was one of the worst worser games that Donovan Smith has had in his career since Bruce Arians has gotten here. So we really can't have a game like that again from Donovan Smith. I think he can rebound, and you know I'm going to be having a microscope on Donovan Smith throughout this entire game. Alex Kappa as well. I did not mention it in the community tab, but Alex Kappa struggled a little bit as well. He was one of the main guys who gave up a block on that blocked field goal, which basically left Tristan Wirfs trying to block 3 people by himself. Alex Kappa was partially responsible for that, and he overall didn't have a great game either. So I'm looking at Alex Kappa, and I'm looking at Donovan Smith, and I'm fingers crossed, please protect Tom Brady. Brian Burns is going to be out there. Yatur Gross-Matos is going to be out there. K'Wan Short, Derek Brown. Pretty interesting defensive line, in my opinion, going up against the Buccaneers offensive line. We need Donovan Smith and we need Alex Kappa to go out there and play a lot better than they did in week 1, because Tom Brady just can't afford to get hit that many times. None of us want to see that happen, including Donovan Smith and Alex Kappa. So overall, Alex Kappa, Donovan Smith, please protect Tom Brady, I beg of you. But guys, that's going to be it for this video. Let me know what you think about all the keys to victory that I mentioned down in the comment section below. What are some other ways that you feel the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could give themselves a better chance of winning? I want to hear that as well. But guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope y'all enjoyed, and until the next video or the next live stream, I'll see you in the next one. But until then, and as always guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.